The cabin was perfect. It was a 2-bedroom tucked into the pine trees, about 20 minutes outside of Mendocino. Little wraparound porch, string lights, one of those open concept kitchens with big windows, and this absurdly deep farmhouse sink. I loved every inch of that damn place. We booked it for our 3-year anniversary, just me and Alyssa. No kids, no work, no phone signal. I remember the first thing that she said when we walked in was, "It smells weird in here." I laughed, but she didn't. The host, Lorraine, had left this note on the countertop, handwritten. It said, "Welcome Brandon and Alyssa. Please make yourselves at home. There's wine in the fridge, firewood stacked out back, and a telescope on the deck. Enjoy the view. Sunsets here are everything. One note, the closet in the master bedroom is locked for storage. Please don't try to force it. Thank you." That was that. Warm, casual, totally normal, right? We unpacked, poured some wine, and took 100 selfies with the trees in the background. Everything felt pretty easy, except that closet. It was on the far wall of the bedroom, standard size, stock white door with this old silver padlock on the latch. Not some high-end combo lock, just one of those clunky ones you can get at pretty much any hardware store. At first, I really didn't say anything, but Alyssa began noticing me glancing at it throughout the night, even while we brushed our teeth. "You're gonna be weird about that closet the whole trip, huh?" "No," I said back. "It's just a locked door and a house that's supposed to be ours for the weekend." "Storage," she reminded me. She said so in the note. But storage for what? It's a vacation rental, not a personal cabin. And that padlock looked pretty new. We laughed it off and went to bed early. And that was the last normal night that we had inside that house. The next day we were pretty busy. Coffee on the porch, a hike through the redwoods, took more dumb selfies at this overlook, and watched a hawk dive right through the fog. It was a perfect day. Still, every time we came back into the bedroom, my eyes would go straight back to that closet. It didn't do anything, it just sat there, unmoving and locked. But for me, it made that whole room feel off balance, like a splinter in your finger, small, invisible, but always there, always present. That night while Alyssa showered, I walked over to it, ran my hand along the grain of the wood. The padlock was old school, a solid metal shackle, key entry. I didn't touch it, just leaned in close. And I could swear when I did so, I heard breathing. Not loud, not even clear, just a faint, steady shift of air. I backed away and almost tripped over the nightstand. When Alyssa came out, towel wrapped around and smiling at me, I didn't say anything to her. I didn't want to ruin the night. We watched a movie, split the last of that wine, and then crawled into bed by 10. But sometime after midnight, I woke up. At first, groggily, I really wasn't sure why, but then I heard it, a soft thump from the closet. Not loud or frantic, just a dull, solid noise, like something shifting inside it. I held my breath, and then another thump, followed by a scratch. I reached over and Alyssa was dead asleep. The house was quiet, no pipes, no wind, no creaking floorboards, just that sound from the closet. I sat up, heart pounding, and just stared at the door. The padlock was still there. I got up and walked over, pressed my ear to the door. Nothing though. I waited a little longer. Then, right at the edge of my hearing, I heard it again, breathing. I sat up and didn't sleep the rest of the night, and the next morning, I told Alyssa. She laughed at me at first, thought I was winding her up or something, but when she saw my face, she stopped. "What kind of sound?" she asked me. "Thumping, scratching, breathing. I know how all that sounds, but it's what I heard." She stared at the closet and bit her lip. "Do you think there's like a animal maybe in there?" "Too big." "What do you mean too big?" I don't know, the sound, it just felt big, like human. She stepped closer to the closet and looked at the padlock. It's the same one, right? Yeah. We debated about calling the host, and eventually Alyssa wound up sending a text. Hey, Brandon thought he heard something in the closet last night. Just want to make sure there's no animal or any issues. Thanks. We waited and didn't get a response. We checked our signal. No bars, so we tried the Wi-Fi. Still out. That's when I remembered the welcome book saying there was a landline in the kitchen. I picked it up and, of course, no dial tone. That afternoon, Alyssa went to go lie down. I stood in the kitchen staring at the fridge, trying to psych myself up to make some kind of lunch. And then I took note of something. The wine bottle. It was on the counter. I know we left it on the coffee table. I walked into the living room, blanket folded, TV remote placed neatly in the center of the rug. Not how we left that either. Alyssa for sure hadn't done it. I asked her, and she swore she didn't. Then we realized we'd both been outside for a while earlier. Alone. Not long, but enough. Somebody had been inside. That night we barricaded the bedroom door with the dresser. Not because of the closet, because of everything else. No cell, no internet, no way to call out. Something had changed. We aren't alone out here. Not really. Alyssa tried her best to stay calm, but her eyes kept darting back and forth to that closet. What if, she whispered to me, what if somebody's living in there? Her words sat in the air like smoke. I didn't answer her. At exactly 2:14 a.m., that scratching started up again. And then the knob turned. I watched it turn. The padlock held, but something pulled really hard. I watched the wood flex. Alyssa was awake now. She saw it too and clapped her hand over her mouth. We didn't move or breathe. Then the noise stopped and we waited. Long enough to convince ourselves, hopefully, it was over. Then came a voice from inside that closet. A dry, whispery rasp. I'm cold. When the sun was up, we left. Didn't pack, didn't clean, didn't say goodbye. Just grabbed our shoes, our phones, and ran. The front door was still locked, but that back slider unlatched. We didn't look in the closet again. We didn't really want to know at this point what was behind it because whatever or whoever was in there wanted us to open it. And we almost did. 15 miles later, we hit the first gas station with signal. Alyssa called the sheriff's department in Mendocino County, filed a report, gave them the address, told them everything, word for word. The dispatcher was polite, said they'd send somebody out, but when we followed up 3 days later, there was no report filed. No record of anything at that cabin at the address, no listing under Lorraine's name. When I checked the rental site, the listing was gone, wiped clean, no history, no reviews, nothing, like it never even existed. Occasionally at night, I found myself thinking back to that voice, the way it sounded like it hadn't spoken in weeks, the way it said just those two words, cold. That wasn't a threat, but I don't really know what it was. I think if we answered back, if we had said anything back, if we tried to help, I'm not sure we would have made it out. We might be part of the closet now too. And then somebody else would be reading Lorraine's welcome note, drinking her wine, ignoring the locked door on that far wall. It was only supposed to be for one night, just a crash pad on the way to Flagstaff. Me and my friend Nate road tripping from LA, trying to make it to his cousin's wedding without coughing up any hotel money. We found this little place in the desert outside Kingman, cheap and clean. A small adobe-style house off a dirt road with gravel driveway and a sagging porch. It had character, 4 stars, no real red flags. And it was available for that one night only. I snapped it up in 5 minutes flat. We got there just around 8 p.m. Sun was already gone, air still warm around us. My phone was on 3% battery. but I had the check-in instructions saved. Thank God. Key under the fake rock by the front steps. Simple enough. I grabbed it and walked to the door and stopped because, well, it was already open. Just slightly. Nate glanced over at me. Did you open it? No, dude, I just got the key. He slowly pushed it the rest of the way open and the lights were on. We both stood there for a second, long enough to notice the TV flickering in the living room, and a beer can on the kitchen island, and a pair of sandals by the door. Somebody was already here. I double-checked the listing. August 12th, 1 night, 2 guests. Reservation confirmed. Then a voice from inside. Hello? 2 people stepped around the corner. A couple, mid-30s maybe, normal looking, slightly confused. Just like us. A guy was holding his phone. Are you the owners? No, I said back. We booked this place tonight. They both immediately looked at each other. So did we. So we both pulled up our confirmations. Same address, same date, same check-in instructions. Nate and the guy walked outside to call the host, and of course, no answer. I stayed in the kitchen, awkwardly sipping water from the sink while the woman made small talk. This is nuts, she said. We stayed at like 20 rentals. This has never happened to us. We agreed to be chill, said it was probably some kind of glitch. Look, let's just stay on opposite ends of the house, the guy said, and we'll leave first thing in the morning. It wasn't ideal, but we were both really tired. The place had 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. There was plenty of space. I guess we figured we can survive 1 night. But we shouldn't have stayed, because those people weren't who they said they were, and by morning, only 1 pair of shoes was still by the front door. That first hour was completely fine. We stayed in our room, and they stayed in theirs. Everybody was making these nervous jokes about tech glitches and modern problems. I played music low on my phone while Nate scrolled through Instagram, and eventually we both started to nod off. Then, out of nowhere, the lights go out, and not just in our room, the whole house. A hard click like a breaker's flipping. Nate sat up. Hey, you hear that? I opened up the door. The hallway was pitch black. Hey, I called out. You guys good? No answer. I stepped forward and the floorboards creaked below me. That kind of creak you feel in your bones more than your actual ears. I found the kitchen by memory, grabbed my phone for light and aimed it around me. The breaker panel was just outside on the porch, so I went to the front door. I stopped. The sandals that were there earlier now were gone, and a breeze was moving through the house. Then a door slammed somewhere in the back. We got the power back on by flipping the main breaker, but the other couple didn't come out of the room after that. Nate knocked once lightly. Hey, everything all right in there? He was only met with silence. We went back to our room and locked the door, and that's when we noticed something. My duffel bag was now open. Not how I left that. Nate's wallet was on the floor, cards pulled halfway out. He picked it up slowly. Did you? I shook my head. We sat there for a long time, not talking, just listening. Every now and again there'd be a soft shuffle in the hall, and once I heard water run for 5 seconds, then shut off. Around 3 a.m. I had to piss, but I didn't want to leave the room. I couldn't hold it anymore. I eased the door open, barefoot, phone in hand. The hallway light was off again. I crept toward the bathroom, passing the living room, and stopped cold. The woman was standing there, in the corner, not moving, just standing, barefoot, facing the wall, arms down at her sides. Almost like she'd been placed there, full Blair Witch bullshit. I froze and she didn't react, not even when the floor creaked under my feet. I backed up slowly and made it to the bathroom and locked the door. Inside, the cabinet under the sink was wide open. Inside that, my backpack. All right, I'm done. Time to fucking bounce. I woke Nate. told him what I saw, and he didn't argue. We threw our shit together fast and made for the front door. And now it was locked. Not deadbolted, but chained from the inside. That chain had not been there when we arrived. Nate moved to unlock it. That's when the guy stepped out of the second bedroom right behind him, and he had a bat in his hand. Aluminum, clean, and brand new. "You guys leaving already?" he asked. I moved between them slowly. Yeah, we're heading out, early start." He smiled. "You sure? You've only been here for a few hours." And that's when I noticed this scar, a thick white line across his throat, like somebody had already tried to cut him a long time ago. He saw me looking and his smile widened. From behind me, the woman whispered, "We just wanted some company." Nate unlocked the chain and I yanked the door open, and we both ran. Didn't stop until we hit the car. We jumped in, slammed the doors, and started it up with shaking hands. They didn't follow. They just stood in the doorway, watching us drive away. We filed a report the next morning. Cops visited the rental, found nothing. No couple, no bat, no signs of any kind of break-in. When they pulled the reservation logs from the property manager, there was only one booking listing for that night, ours. They checked the key logs, only one use on the key box, ours. There's no sign or record of anybody else being there. And the strange part, the owners hadn't rented that house in almost a year, said that they'd taken it offline after a break-in. When the property manager asked us who gave us the link, we pulled it up and of course, listing gone, wiped. The only thing left in the browser history was this weird dead redirect, something called sharebnb.co/justforyou. We waited weeks for answers and there never were any. A cop said the locks hadn't been tampered with, the host hadn't given out any kind of spare key. No prints besides ours, no damage, no physical evidence, no nothing. They treated us like we were exaggerating something, maybe mistaken, maybe high. But I remember the bat. I remember the woman staring at the wall like she was possessed. I remember my backpack moved into a space that I hadn't touched, a very weird one at that. We tried to track that link again, sharebnb.co/justforyou, but it was gone. Even the cached version led nowhere, a blank page with the words, "Thank you for booking." And beneath that, in this tiny gray font, "More guests arrive every day." We booked that cabin because we wanted some kind of quiet. My wife Laura needed a break from work and the kids were burnt out from school, and I just wanted to feel like a man again. Build some fires, grill some steaks, let my youngest shoot a BB gun at cans from the deck, pretend that we were pioneers instead of just tired people from Phoenix. It was a rental just outside of Pine Top, up past the ski cabins and seasonal condos, far enough away from the main road that the last stretch was all dirt and pine needles. The photos made it look rustic, but clean. Big stone fireplace, bunk beds, a wraparound porch with a hot tub that barely worked but looked really great in those pictures. And no cell service. That was really the appeal to us. No buzzing or news, no texts from work, just the five of us, me, Lauren, our teenage daughter Emma, and the twins, Ryan and Blake, 9 years old and always yelling about something. We got there on a Thursday afternoon. Weather was perfect. The air had that high country scent, half pine, half soil, like the whole mountain was freshly watered. We unpacked, picked bedrooms, and let the kids explore the trails behind the house. It really did feel like a reset. Dinner was burgers on the grill, sunset through the trees, s'mores over the fire pit. Emma rolled her eyes at the twins and pretended not to be having fun. Laura sipped red wine from a camping mug and said, "We should do this every year." It really was the kind of night that you don't realize you'll miss until it's gone. Then a knock came at 3 a.m., 3 sharp raps, right at the front door. I sat up in bed, heart pounding like I'd been yanked from underwater. Laura whispered to me, "What was that?" "I don't know. Stay here." I grabbed the fireplace poker and crept down the stairs barefoot. The knock didn't come again. I looked through the peephole and saw nothing, just moonlight and trees. So I opened up the door. Nobody there, no footprints, no wind, just the cold, quiet woods and the sound of blood in my ears. I closed the door and locked the deadbolt and checked the windows one by one. Still didn't see anything. Not a branch out of place, not even a breeze. So I told myself maybe it was an animal, a falling pine cone. Hell, maybe the twins left something against the door that tipped over. Now, I didn't believe it, of course, but I needed to say it. Laura didn't ask any questions when I got back into bed. Just pulled the blanket tighter and slid closer to me. The next morning, I checked the front porch again. Still nothing, but there were boot prints and they weren't ours. They weren't there the day before either. Big ones, treaded. Not hiking boots, work boots. I followed them. They started down the gravel drive and led up to the porch steps and then stopped at the front door. No return trail though, just a set of tracks coming in from the woods. I didn't tell Laura. I just kept an eye out. Didn't let the kids go exploring that day. Said there were bears in the area and I didn't want to risk it. I checked my phone. Still no service. I tried the cabin's emergency Wi-Fi hotspot and of course it was dead. The landline by the kitchen was unplugged. Some frayed wires with no dial tone. No signal, no internet, no fallback. It was just us. That night I locked everything down. Windows, curtains, and I left the outside lights on. But at 3 a.m. once more, the knocking came back. Same rhythm, same 3 knocks. This time Laura actually heard it too. She sat up straight first, eyes wide. That's not an animal. I nodded back at her. She reached for her phone, but I already knew it was no help. I got out of bed and grabbed that same poker and moved slowly down the hallway. When I reached the living room, I didn't go to the door right away this time. I looked out the side window first and saw somebody standing on the porch. Not moving, not speaking, just standing. His face was in shadow, wearing something heavy like a jacket, arms at his sides, head tilted slightly like he was listening. Then, like he felt me watching, he turned and looked straight at the window, and I quickly ducked out of view. I didn't breathe, I didn't blink, and when I looked again, he was gone. I didn't sleep and stayed up the rest of the night, and at sunrise I walked the perimeter. Boot prints were everywhere this time, around the porch, around the sides, by the window, even at the back door, like he'd been circling while we slept. When I went to check our SUV, the tires were slashed, all 4, clean cuts. Then I had to tell Laura everything, the guy, the footprints, the tires. I thought that she'd fall apart. Instead, she went into triage mode, packed snacks, filled the bathtubs, charged flashlights, and the kids started asking questions we didn't want to answer. I found a trail cam nailed to a pine tree just off the back deck, and that wasn't ours, not part of the listing at least, and definitely not mentioned in the binder. I pulled a card and popped it into my laptop. Each file was named by timestamp, and each one was a photo, black and white, motion triggered. At first, all of the files were us, unpacking the car, kids running down the trail, me at the grill. Then came the night shots, us through the window, sleeping, sitting at dinner, Laura brushing her teeth, me reading a book, all taken from that tree line. Then the final file, it was from the night before, a full body shot. That man, standing on the porch, inches from the door, looking into the camera, his face lit by the porch light. Not a ski mask, no balaclava, just a man's face, plain and unbothered. That night we took turns watching the windows. Laura kept the kids in our room, reading bedtime stories, and she didn't finish. At 3 a.m. we heard footsteps on the roof. That wasn't a bird or the wind. Footsteps, slow and creeping. It went from one side of the house to the other. I raised that poker, and Laura grabbed the fire extinguisher. We waited. A soft clatter then came from the chimney. At dawn, I spotted something on the back deck, nailed to the railing with a screwdriver. A photo, one of the trail cam prints. Our family sitting at dinner, Emma smiling, Laura was mid-laugh and me mid-bite. Scrawled across the bottom in thick black marker, "Thank you for staying." We left as soon as the sun cleared, didn't even drive the SUV, we hiked out. Me still with that fire poker, Laura with the twins, and Emma dragging a duffel bag. It took us almost 2 hours on foot to reach the main road. I flagged down a tow truck, and the guy thought I was crazy until I showed him the photo. He didn't really ask many questions after that, just nodded and gave us a ride back into town. He even agreed to go pick up our car after we gave him the address. The police were polite, not helpful. They took my statement, looked at the tire tracks, the trail cam, the prints in the dirt, said they'd check the local trail cams, maybe put in a request for footage from nearby hunting blinds. But without a name or suspect, I knew nothing would really come of it. It was just another trespassing incident. No signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, no real damage. When I asked him about the trail cam, the deputy just shrugged at me. There's a lot of creeps out there, and some just want to watch.